We'd gone on this operation. There was about 6 Green Berets. There was a particular terrorist leader that we had been tracking for years. He had been the sort of individual that put suicide vests on children, on mentally handicapped females. Just a genuinely horrible human being. All of a sudden, explosion goes off and gunfire starts. And as I'm going up the line, I see this little pathway leading back. It goes down in this little hide spot that has been constructed. If anybody's down there waiting for you, it's gonna be a bad day. And in that moment, I honestly remember a story my father told me. He goes, well, Nick, we're the ones they call when there's a dangerous situation. And so I grabbed my flashbang, grabbed my pistol, threw the flashbang down there, jumped in after it. This terrorist he had been killed. The entire town, all the people come out and we're just celebrating because this guy who would ruthlessly oppress these people for years was gone. It was one of my proudest moments in the military. Growing up, my mother was a nurse, my father was a police officer. My mom actually got pregnant with me when she was in college. She was actually the beginning of a very promising scholarship. And there was a lot of people advising her to terminate the pregnancy. And my mom, because of her faith, she chose me. I clearly don't know what it's like to be a young woman with her entire life ahead of her to all of a sudden have something that she never anticipated or planned for. But I do know what it's like to be her son. So when I grew up, idolized my dad. You know, he was a police officer, he was a homicide detective. My dad really instilled in me this idea that you have an obligation to protect people. And so it was that idea from my mother, from my father, from my grandparents, this idea that service is a personal responsibility.
So I met Nick in 9th grade and we were friends throughout high school.
I could take you back to the place I was sitting in the classroom when Tina walked through the door.
I knew he was going to the Army because he had already enlisted when he was 17.
We ended up getting married May 1st in 1999, so it was less than a year out of high school for both of us.
After we got married, we had one day and then he had to leave.
Being in the military, I was gone a lot. And you know, military spouses, military wives put up with a lot. So when you are home with your family, you've got to take every single advantage of it, and you've got to find those ways to create moments that they're going to remember and that you're going to remember. And then the other thing is making sure that you keep in touch when you are away.
And so I would take video and I would take a lot of pictures, and they could pretty quickly be to him.
One of my favorite videos that you sent me was when Allie was just learning to talk. And you said, say Dada. And she goes, Dada. You said, all right, now say Mama.
Can you say Mama?
Dada. We hit 20 years this year, and 3 children, and 2 combat deployments, and you know, several moves. So every sort of stressful thing you can imagine in a marriage, you know, we've had to go through that together, and each one of it has made us stronger. When I was looking to get out of the military, I remember a sergeant major that I really respected saying, you know, Nick, why are you getting out? I said, you know, Sergeant Major, the problems that we're facing right now are not military problems. The problems that we're facing right now are political problems. One of the theories that's being pushed very hard right now is this idea of a socialist nation. I know which direction I want the country to go. I want the country to live up to the promise of everything that we see in our Declaration of Independence, everything that we see in our Constitution. When we talk about individual liberty, when we talk about property rights, when we're talking about each person being able to pursue happiness, that's the country I fought for. That's the country my friends fought for. I was raised with a belief of service. I was raised with a belief that you go to where the fight is. And right now the fight is in Washington, D.C., and it really is a question of what sort of a country do we want to be. If you truly believe that this country is at a crossroads, then we have some difficult decisions to make. And one thing I learned in both combat and in politics is that cowardice is contagious, but so is courage. And if you are willing to be the first over those ramparts, you will be shocked at how many people will be willing to go with you. I am asking you to go with me. I am asking you to help me restore the promise of this country and to ensure it for new generations. I'm Nick Freitas, and I'm running for Congress.